would like to welcome our esteemed guests of honor today, Ms. Liz Grande, who is the UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative in India. She has been involved in some of the United Nations' largest humanitarian operations and has also served in peacekeeping missions. Professor Jayant Krishnan, who is the Charles L. Whistler Faculty Fellow and Professor of Law at the Indiana University Mora School of Law, and is the Vice Chair of the International Board of Advisors to Jindal Global Law School. Ms. Indira Jaising, who is a Senior Advocate at the Supreme Court of India and is the first woman to be appointed Additional Solicitor General of India. From the beginning of her legal career, she has focused on protection of human rights of women and those of the poor working class. And Mr. Rajan Kumar Gupta, who is the Additional Chief Secretary to the Government of Haryana.
Now, to begin the evening, we would like to call on stage our visionary Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Rajkumar.
Very good evening to all of you. It is indeed my proud privilege to welcome all of you to the 5th anniversary and celebration of the University Day of OP Jindal Global University. It is indeed my proud privilege to acknowledge the distinguished presence of Ms. Indira Jaising, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, and former Additional Solicitor of India, Professor Jayant Krishnan, Professor at Indiana University, Mora School of Law, Bloomington, Ms. Lisa Grant, UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative of India, and Mr. Rajan Gupta, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Haryana. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Mrs. Gupta as well, who has kindly accepted our invitation and is indeed present on this occasion. It is a very special day for us, and every year when we celebrate this day, we reflect and recollect the vision and aspirations of this university when it was founded in 2009. I would like to wish all of you, students, faculty, staff, as well as other distinguished individuals who are present here on this occasion, a very happy 5th anniversary. This is indeed a joyous occasion for us to celebrate the journey of JGU since 30th September 2009, when we began our classes and the first academic session. For all those who were not present on that day, I would like to briefly reflect upon the day when we started the first academic session of the first school of JGU. On that day, we began classes with only 4 classrooms ready in the first academic block. Only the first floor was ready, and many of us were actually cleaning up the classrooms. We did not have anything else built and running on our campus, and the only infrastructure that was available was these 4 classrooms. We had a little over 100 students and around 10 faculty members in 2009. It is indeed incredible to see our campus today that has grown so much in these 5 years. But what is truly remarkable is that we have continued to maintain the values that have shaped our thinking while establishing the institution and growing it into 5 different schools in law, business, international affairs, public policy, liberal arts and humanities. Today we have over 1,750 students and over 140 full-time faculty members studying and living on campus. That is nearly 100 acres. We have graduated over 500 students across different schools of JGU. But the establishment of Jindal Global University signifies something more profound. 30th September 2009 was also a moment of triumph. Probably the triumph of an idea that originated long back when I was a student at the University of Oxford. The idea grew over the years at the university campuses of Harvard, Yale, NYU, and at universities around the world, including in Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taipei, Australia, and mainland China. I was deeply inspired by a number of people who I had met and interacted around the world, many of whom continued to be closely associated with our university. Of course, it was also shaped by my own studies and experiences in India. But there are many good ideas which never see the light of the day and are never made into a reality. The visionary leadership and, in many ways, revolutionary philanthropy of our Chancellor, Naveen Jindal, made it possible to create a non-profit global university in India. Even today, people wonder why would an Indian businessman give away over 500 crores of rupees to a person who is not even related to him and to a cause which is philanthropic in nature while ensuring academic freedom, functional autonomy, and operational independence, all with a view to promoting excellence in higher education. Yes, it did happen, and actually it came to a reality. But on 30th September 2009, this day 5 years ago, it wasn't like this. There was widespread uncertainty and skepticism that prevailed among both educationalists and higher education regulators about the very creation of this university. The idea of a private university was not particularly appealing to many progressive individuals in society. It was met with stiff resistance. Further, the growth and development of private universities in India since late 80s have not been encouraging. They were not created with the vision of the great private universities of the world, including Harvard, Yale, and Stanford. Most private universities in India ended up becoming mediocre, commercial, profit-making, and at times even dubious endeavors. What Chancellor Naveen Jindal did by his extraordinarily generous act of philanthropy was to create a unique university in India. He believed in the power of this idea, and I was fortunate to be in a position to persuade him to do what he had always believed in, which is to give back to India and the society at large. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Naveen Jindal for what he has done all these years as the founding Chancellor of JGU. He has never wavered from his commitment to ensure academic freedom, autonomy, and independence while being deeply committed to institution building. I sincerely hope that the students of JGU in the years to come are prepared to take a cue from the Chancellor and contribute to philanthropy. This day is also special because of the fact that we are in a unique situation to have the presence of many individuals who have contributed to the establishment and the development of O.P. Jindal Global University. Let me take this opportunity to recognize and in many ways appreciate the extraordinarily, I would say, tactful but extremely generous contribution of Mr. Rajan Gupta, who is right now the Additional Chief Secretary of the Government of Haryana, but at that time was the Education Secretary of the Government of Haryana. I can say with the full sense of responsibility that this university would not have been created, at least at the time it was created, but for the unique and in many ways generous and tactful and extremely, I would say, using his own both social and political capital within the government, was able to persuade a number of individuals, including many of his colleagues, to galvanize around the idea of this university. As some of you know, we were the first university established by the government of Haryana under the new legislation. Sir, we are eternally grateful to you because of your far-sighted vision and indeed your inspiration and support, which culminated in the establishment of the university. But I know that your support did not limit to the creation alone. You have walked with us in this journey, and we are particularly delighted that you have accepted our invitation to celebrate the 5th anniversary with us. In fact, I would say you have reinforced my faith in the belief in Indian democracy and also the ability of Indian bureaucrats to contribute to change and transformation. For many of us who have engaged with a number of individuals within the government, I must say that it has not always been a pleasant experience. But you have been fresh. In many ways, you have helped us recognize that people within the government, if they are able to work with commitment and dedication, can seek profound change, and that is what you have done. I would also like to acknowledge the contribution of 3 other individuals who are in some ways connected to the university, not necessarily in a full-time capacity. Let me start with the person who is not here, Professor Peter Schuck, who is a professor at Yale University, who chairs the International Board of Advisors. He was the first person who I discussed the idea of this university in the library of NYU. And that journey rose from the library of NYU, and he has been since then very strongly supportive of everything that we've done. He's come and spent time here, and I'm grateful to Peter for his leadership and inspiration. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of 2 individuals, both of whom quite significantly contributed to institution building and in many ways became ambassadors of JGU long before we were established. Professor Stephen P. Marks, professor at Harvard University, currently a distinguished visiting professor at Jindal Global Law School and special advisor to the Vice Chancellor, as well as Professor Jayant Krishnan, professor at Indiana University, Bloomington, who is right now visiting us. There are, of course, a number of important individuals who have shaped the creation and development of this university. Let me begin with my friend and colleague, Dr. Sanjeev P. Sani. Dr. Sani, who is currently the director of the Jindal Institute of Behavioral Studies, sits as a member of the governing body as well as the board of management of the university. But I also want to recognize the fact that it is people like Dr. Sani who in some ways supported the very idea from its inception. And this idea would not have come to fruition but for the galvanization of a sense of consciousness through the efforts of Dr. Sani that we have been able to create this university. I just wanted to acknowledge and also profusely thank his leadership, inspiration, as well as his continued encouragement and support for the development of the university. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the contribution of Dr. Francis Julian, Professor D.K. Srivastava, the founding Pro-Vice Chancellor, Mr. Aman Shah, and many other individuals who have contributed to the university. In particular, I would also like to thank the contribution of Professor Padmanabha Ramanujam, whose contribution, like the few other individuals I mentioned, predates the establishment of the university on 27th January 2009. I also want to appreciate the contribution of Professor Y.S.R. Murthy, our distinguished registrar, who has played a significant role in developing this institution for the last few years, and I am grateful to him for his leadership. I also want to recognize the fact that whatever distance we have covered in the last 5 years would not have been possible but for the contribution of all the faculty members, the students, the administrative staff, and many other stakeholders whose names may not be mentioned on this occasion. This is an idea which has, for the time of which has come, and we have been able to play a vanguard-like role in the growth and development of higher education in the country, and we are really fortunate to be able to play this role. I just wanted to once again recognize that institution building is central to nation building. We have seen in this country the growth and development of great institutions which have also decayed and in many ways degenerated over the years. Our faith and trust on the possibility of institutions to seek social transformation grows out of the possibility of high quality education that is being given to students of this university. We are grateful to a number of individuals who have helped in the change, and I am thankful to all those who have accepted our invitation and be part of the celebration. I also want to thank the deans of all the schools of JGU who continuously work towards enhancing the quality of governance and administration. I also want to appreciate the contribution of all our administrative staff in various units within the university who are continuously promoting excellence in different departments. Thank you, and once again, happy anniversary.
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar, for that profound speech. We would now like to call upon Mr. Rajan Kumar Gupta to say a few words.
Vice Chancellor Professor C. Rajkumar, guests of honor, all the faculty members, dear students, it's my great privilege to be here today on the occasion of celebration of the 5th anniversary of this great university. Professor Rajkumar has shown that impossible can be done. There is nothing impossible. I've been very fortunate in being associated with the setting up of this university right from the very inception. Professor Raj, I recall that Professor Rajkumar, along with 3-4 of his colleagues, if I can recall their names correctly, Professor Srivastav, Professor Mr. Julian Francis, and Padmanabhan. These four gentlemen used to come to Chandigarh very often. They came up with an idea that we wish to set up a private university here in Sonipat. Haryana had come out with a legislation for setting up of private universities. No university before that had been set up. Nobody had any experience in how to deal with the applications which would come to us for setting up of the universities. So with his help, we of course established the procedures, we experimented at their cost, and those experimentation of course have helped set up many more universities in the state later on. But I remember when they came, by that time I had the experience of working in the education department of the state for a couple of years. One of the responsibilities with me as Education Secretary was, for a short period of time of about 4 to 5 months, I was given the charge of the Vice Chancellor of a university called Kurukshetra University at Kurukshetra. So I had a little bit of experience of working in the universities and experiencing the culture of the universities. Frankly speaking, I was deeply disappointed and dejected with the way Indian universities are functioning. They don't promote creativity. They don't promote research. Our education system, I call it, continues to be a century old, or maybe more. It's continuing approximately in the same form as was set up by Lord Macaulay. We ask our students to memorize certain given set of knowledge, and then we test the memorizing of that knowledge or facts at the end of the year. And those who are able to cross not so difficult a line, we call them graduates and degree holders. I was also fortunate enough to have been exposed to some university education abroad. And I could see the stark difference between the two. And I still consider if India as a nation, as a country, is to move forward, it has to be, and there is no other way except to move through its university system. It's going to be, it is the foundation, it is the base, it is the only route through which the India can realize its full potential, which unfortunately so far has been deeply stymied, it has been curbed, it has been not given a leadership that it ought to have been given. So when Professor Rajkumar came, I said, okay, I just named a few universities abroad of which I could, kind of remember at that time. I just blurted the names of Harvard, Stanford, Yale. I said, get some kind of association with them, some collaboration with them. If you do that, it's my word that this university will be given the letter of intent and it will be given the legislative support for coming into existence. I thought he would say, it's a difficult task, we can't do it, let's find some way out. He said, all right, I'll come back in a month's time. And the matter ended there. And exactly 30 days later, he came back not with one letter, but with 3 letters. He said, here are the letters from 3 universities agreeing to support the faculty development, the course curriculum, the student exchange, and the faculty exchange programs. I said, now the ball is in my court, and it was a difficult task. He had played his hand very well, and now the entire onus fell on me. The state government of Haryana fully supported the vision of Mr. Rajkumar, and Mr. Rajkumar always, and his team, of course, always came up with solutions to whichever problem we posed before them. Their team had unbound energy. They had such optimism and positivity and energy and enthusiasm, which was almost infectious. Anybody who came in contact with them fell in line. Wherever we wished them to come, meet, project, make presentations, they were always ready. They used to stay in a hotel, armed with their laptops and printers. Whatever we asked them, in a short period of time, of few minutes or couple of hours, they would come up with a solution to the issues that we posed before them. Very impressive. We are very, very proud. And I'm thankful to the state government of Haryana that they fully supported the vision of Mr. Rajkumar, and this university started coming up. I'm very proud that I have been a part of the process of its setting up. Congratulations, Mr. Rajkumar, on its 5th anniversary, and congratulations to all the faculty members and students on this great day. Institutions are not mere buildings, faculties, facilities, equipment, or students. Of course, in a kind of environment that we are functioning today, in the environment of this country, administrative environment that we are living here in India today, there is a lot that needs to be corrected. They have surmounted, Mr. Rajkumar and his team have surmounted that difficult atmosphere. They have set up this building. They have engaged first-class faculty. They have realized that the vision that we shared in the beginning, that we wish to have innovative kind of educational courses, different world-class kind of curriculum, the teaching learning methodologies, they have all done that. And I'm certain that the experimentations being done here, the experiences being brought from all over the world, which are being installed in this university, will be replicated elsewhere in the country. This, in my personal view, will be the greatest contribution, that if we can change the way we teach, if we can change the way we ask the students to learn, that will be single greatest achievement. And that's, as I said, will be the route to the greatness for this country. I was talking about the institution setting up. Surely we have put in place a world-class building. We have got world-class faculty, and we have got first-rate course curriculum, teaching learning methodologies. But a long way is yet to be traveled. It's the, if I can say, value system. It's the value system which determines the future of a university, which determines whether an institution will emerge as a great institution or not. In India, we do not have a university, a single educational institution probably, which could be ranked amongst the top 100 or 200 great universities of the world. It's a big matter of concern. If Jindal Global University, under the present leadership, under the leadership of the faculty members and the board of governors, if we can set an example of what kind of value system a university should have, and that will be a great contribution to the nation building of India. What that value system ought to be, what that value system should be, will be a constant subject of debate and discovery. This will have to be evolved over a period of time. I am not a systematic student of the history of some of the great institutions, but what I can imagine and guess is that it's the thought process of each and every individual, may he be a class 4 person or a ordinary gardener or a vice chancellor or a student. It's the involvement, it's the shared thinking, it's the shared thought process. It's the consensus of the minds of everyone associated with the institution that helps build a value system. To begin with, if I can express my second desire to you, Mr. Rajkumar, as in the beginning I expressed my desire to you that you get the top universities of the world associated with this. If I can make another wish and request to you is that the way the students are taught in the great institutions, if the same methodology of teaching and research and promoting team activity and value system is brought here, and if we can generate a vision about it and share with the rest of the country, with the rest of the institutions, it will have a ripple effect, it will have a chain effect in other institutions as well. Why I'm saying so? As I mentioned, when I was working as the Vice Chancellor of the Kurukshetra University as an additional responsibility, I found that the most difficult task, which I still consider, is to get the faculty members agree on something, to change the minds of the faculty of the universities, because there's a reason. Each one of them is a highly learned person. They have done so much of research, they have guided so many people that I think kind of overeducated. They sort of get their ideas fixed. It's very difficult to change the ideas of a learned person. It's much more difficult to get them change their ideas. Another colleague who is similarly placed, another institution which is of equal stature is needed. They will not listen to an outsider, as I was there. So if you can create that atmosphere, if you can bring those technologies here and disseminate to the rest of the universities, that will be a great contribution. And that's my second request to you. And I'm absolutely sure, like you have achieved this, you will achieve my next request also, for which not only me, but the entire state government will also be highly grateful to you. Well, friends, I really feel truly proud in being associated with this process, and I'm really grateful to Mr. Rajkumar and his colleagues for inviting me here today on this great occasion. And I hope that whatever I could do for this great institution in the rest of my career, it will be my honor and pleasure to do so. Congratulations and best wishes once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for that speech. We would now like to call upon Professor Jayant, who is a professor of law at the Indiana University.
So let me begin by saying how grateful I am to be here today to commemorate the 5th anniversary of the OP Jindal Global University. Before I begin my short talk, I just want to spend a moment expressing how genuinely humbled and privileged I feel to be here in the same room with such eminent people as my colleagues on the dais. As somebody who studies education and the legal profession, and as somebody who has been watching closely what's been transpiring with the OP Jindal Global University over the past several years, I have to say that what has been done here is nothing short of path-breaking. And I think it's really important for us to keep in mind how truly historic this university is. I mean, if we look back over the last 60 years, we know that beginning in the 1950s and then for the next 2 decades, the American-based Ford Foundation spent millions of dollars trying to improve education in India, but unfortunately did so with only marginal success. There were multiple reasons for why Ford's plan did not succeed, but what did occur following that initiative was that there were important efforts by a group of key education figures within the country, specifically even within the legal space, that tried to make a distinction among themselves in this area. All of these people, such as P.K. Tripathi, Upendra Bakshi, M.P. Singh, S.P. Sathe, Madhava Menon, and many, many others, put a stamp on education, specifically on legal education in this country. And they had lasting impressions on how many students are trained in the country today. So in my view, the leadership of the university here and its wonderful faculty is really in great company in terms of putting their own mark on how higher education will be imparted for the next generation of students. Of course, given my own background and my own personal affinity, which is towards the law, my main focus and energy has been on the JGU Law School. But let me talk about personally what I've experienced over the past many years working with my JGU University colleagues. I can remember vividly, back in 2006, talking to Raj Kumar about his dream for creating a world-class higher educational institution. I remember hearing his aspirations, his visions, and his ambition, and thinking to myself, there is no way this can work. How is this possible? I even thought about suggesting that Raj take a step back and perhaps seek professional help to discuss his delusions of grandeur. But I didn't know Raj all that well at that time, so I just decided to remain quiet and to offer my help in whatever way I could. And I'm so happy that I did that I decided not to speak up and express that initial skepticism I had. And I say that because in reflecting on all that has been accomplished to date, it is really remarkable. To begin, the philanthropic generosity of Mr. Naveen Jindal places him within the pantheon of some of the greatest educational philanthropists the world has ever known. And I think it's important to remember that Mr. Jindal's gift was made to memorialize his late father. And there are other historical precedents along these same lines. I think about, for example, other family-based donations made over the years, such as Leland Stanford, who in the late 19th century, after tragically losing his only child at the young age of 15, decided to build Stanford University as a way of creating a legacy for his dear lost son. Or about how recently Bill Gates gave the University of Washington School of Law a multi-million-dollar gift as a means of honoring his father, William Gates Sr., who Bill Gates credits for where he is today. Or how Mr. Washington Duke, an American Southerner during the 1800s, who eventually came to oppose slavery and believed in providing women with access to education, how this individual founded Trinity College, that later became known as Duke University, as a result of his son James Duke wanting to create a lasting tribute to his father. Or how my own incredible former dean and current provost at my university, Lauren Robel, was able to secure a gift from the well-known businessman, Mr. Michael Maurer, which was meant to serve as a family-based legacy as well. And so what Mr. Jindal has done, along with the amazing efforts of the faculty, the students, and the staff here, truly is remarkable. And of course, the everyday leader of the law school and the university, and someone I want to particularly highlight, is that of Professor C. Raj Kumar. I mean, his efforts have been nothing short of astounding. And as I was thinking about what to say regarding Raj, I was reminded of a speech I heard some years back given by the hugely successful Vietnamese-American businessman Viet Ngo. According to Viet Ngo, in order for an institution to thrive, it needs to have, among other things, a strong CEO, a strong COO, and a strong CIO. Now, you may think you know what those acronyms mean. But for Mr. Viet Ngo, a CEO doesn't simply stand for a chief executive officer, nor does COO stand for a chief operating officer. And there's more to being a CIO than being a chief information officer. Instead, these three titles, according to Viet Ngo, encompass much, much more. And as I said 5 years ago, but which I feel needs to be repeated again, when you think about it, they all perfectly apply to Raj Kumar. Specifically, Raj, I think it's fair to say, is JGU's CEO. But to me, what that really means is that he's been the institution's chief energy, chief excitement officer. Never before have I seen one person have such a passion and love for an idea than I've seen with Raj Kumar. Raj, for me, has been JGO's COO. But what I mean here is that he's been the school's chief outreach officer. I mean, look around the room. There are people from every corner of the globe, all here to celebrate and be part of this dream. Moreover, if you consider the universities from Europe, North America, Latin America, Asia, Africa, that JGU has partnered with, in a range of ways, there is no questioning this university's commitment to a bold global vision of education. And finally, Raj has been, for me, this university's chief imagination officer, its CIO. I mean, really, only one with such an amazing imagination and a sense of creativity could have turned what was a distant vision into actual reality. And there are many ways this has come to life. The hiring of top-notch faculty immediately comes to my mind. The fact that JGU has been able to bring together a wonderful core of scholars from different parts of the world who are committed to a global vision of education is an amazing achievement. And it will redound to the benefit of researchers in India, students, policymakers, and colleagues around the globe. There's also been JGU's imagination and determination to work on top-notch research. There are, as last time I counted, over 30 centers at the university that engage on key academic and public policy issues of the day. This is a group of globally thinking, globally reaching scholars. I've been to several conferences at the university, and I can attest to that at each one that I've been at, the meetings have been invigorating, they've been provocative, sometimes confrontational, but always highly intellectual. This has all been done in 5 years. And for me, it's a major lesson in why this institution building has been so successful. It's because of the character, the dedication, and the integrity of all of those involved. I can say, especially as one who studies education in a comparative perspective, I don't know of any other example of an institution in the global south, or frankly anywhere, that has made such incredible strides in such a short period of time. Of course, there are many people who have been able to make this institution come alive and build it from the ground up. 5 years ago, when I was here, there was a little more than a few walls, a few classes, and just a handful of faculty, students, and staff. But there was hope. There was a dream, and there was a vision. And I can say in all honesty that seeing all this come to life in just such a short period of time fills me both with inspiration and humility. And I feel truly humbled and honored to have been a minor player in this incredible story. So with that, let me congratulate Vice Chancellor Kumar, the faculty, and the students. I know that JGU will be an institution that will have truly global benefits for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for your inspiring speech. We would now request our esteemed guests, Professor Rajkumar and Professor Y.S.R. Murthy, to present the awards for outstanding contribution to the administration. This award is given on this occasion for the appreciation of your hard work, dedication, and commitment. This award goes to Mr. Manoj Kumar Rajpai, Mr. Jitu Mishra, Mrs. Surinder Kaur, Ms. Neha Pul, Mr. Sanjay Khurana, Ms. Sakshi Garg, Mr. B.S. Kanwal, Mr. Varun Toshi, Mr. Sunil Daya, Mr. Uttam Palai, Mr. Rajveer Singh, Mr. Hansraj, Mr. Akash Kumar. Mr. Akash Kumar. Mr. Maheshwar Sani. Mr. Devendra Singh. Mr. Ramchandra. And Ms. Neera Singh.
We will now present the awards for outstanding contribution to institution building. This award is given for outstanding contribution to the establishment of OP Jindal University on January 27, 2009. It was your strong encouragement and support that enabled JGU to make rapid strides in promoting excellence in teaching and research in a very short span of time. As JGU celebrates its 5th anniversary, we also recognize and appreciate your substantial contribution to the growth and development of the university during the past 5 years. I would like to call upon Mr. Rajan Kumar Gupta, Dr. Sanjeev Sahani, Professor Stephen Marks, Professor Jayan Krishnan, Mr. Vikesh Sharma, and Mr. Aman Shah.
You know, this is just a little bit to tell you how old I am. And I'm not going to give away the age. You have to make your own guesses. But just to let you know that I met Professor Raj when he was a student. And you know, we do go back quite a long way. Of course, I'm seeing him today in a completely new avatar. And though it's been 5 years since the establishment of the university, this is really my first visit here. I don't know what this is pointing to. One thing it could point to is that there is still a division between academia and the practice of law. Perhaps. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong about this. But the fact is that this is my first visit in 5 years. What can I say? I'm a bit overwhelmed looking at this structure, looking at the sheer beauty of it, looking at the sheer power of it, looking at the students it has generated, looking at the faculty it has generated, and it could really render me speechless. But, you know, while I was speaking on one occasion at at a meeting, I think it was a meeting organized by the Lawyers Collective, but it was funded by UN Women. And I was trying to make a point to UN Women. And the point that I made was, this was immediately after the Justice Verma Committee. And you know, all institutions have a way of talking about quote unquote sustainability. Sustainability. Why do we have institutions? Because we need sustainability. And I suppose that's the reason you have this university here. At that point in my speech, I made a statement which has stayed in my own mind, and I would like to repeat that here to you. I said to the representative of the UN, you talk about sustainability, but do you know where sustainability resides? And then I pointed out to them that just look at this amazing country we call India. Look at it. You have a person 80 plus, that was Justice Verma. After him, you have somebody like me. Again, I'm not telling you my age, but I was younger to Justice Verma. And then you have people who have, you know, been in the profession for about 10 years, 15 years, maybe 20 years. I've been in the profession for more than 40 years, maybe 45. And then you had a whole lot of students, including Justice Verma's granddaughter. And I said at that meeting, this is where sustainability resides. It resides in us. It does not reside in the brick and mortar of this building. It is we who have sustained movements from the time of Justice Verma, that is, he's in his 80s, 85, he's no more, down to his granddaughter student spanning more than 4 generations. And the institutional memory of the women's movement is what you see in the Justice Verma report. It's all there. And I do hope that it's compulsory reading. I can see some of my own juniors and fellow travelers in the audience here who are teaching. I do hope, Professor Raj, that it is compulsory reading for all your students, because you will get in that report a slice of Indian history. And that, for me, is what sustainability is about. Now, of course, we all know that the university is a place where you learn, where you think, but most importantly, it is also a place where you learn to challenge everything that's taught to you. It's also a place where you unlearn. It's also a place where you question everything that your own teacher or your professor is telling you. That luxury you will have in a university, and that is the training that a university is meant to give to you. They are very, very special spaces, universities. Probably really the last frontier in our country, maybe, of intellectual freedom, of thought and expression. And I would certainly urge all of you to jump at the opportunity and to make the most of your years in this university. Now, let me say a few words about students. I'm sure you all know that students have been in the vanguard of all progressive and revolutionary movements the world over. And among students, law students and lawyers have played a critical role in challenging the unlawful acts of the state. Our own freedom struggle was dominated by lawyers, and it seems to me at one time I used to think, oh my God, what an upper class domination, how elitist can you get? But over a period of time, it dawned on me that lawyers are trained to uphold the rule of law. Now, at this point, I am going to make a few comments about which I would like you to ponder. We are living in a state which is dominated by one-party rule. The ruling party in our country has a brute majority. I would like you to ponder and think what this means in constitutional terms for us. as ordinary citizens of this country. What are the responsibilities of a state which is run by a government consisting of one party? Maybe a coalition, but a coalition which, coalesces, shall I say, in terms of its ideology. Now, what are the implications of this? We have all been witness to a mega show in the United States of America of our Prime Minister. And by now, after 100 days, we are accustomed to seeing his style. I do agree that he has an absolutely fantastic style. I don't dispute that at all. Few in this country or anywhere in the world can match him in terms of his style. But as students of constitutional law, I would urge you to consider the difference between a person and the post and position of Prime Minister. And it would be wonderful if you could take this subject up as a subject matter for discussion in your classrooms, that what is the institutional position of a Prime Minister? Can an individual appropriate to himself the role of the state and the Prime Minister and the nation? And what would you answer if you were looking at the issue of the rule of law? I'm of course not going to give you the answer. I think you need to figure it out for yourself. But this is what I think is the role of students in a university. You have to subject your day-to-day existence to critical scrutiny through the lens of the Constitution of India, I would say, since you're living in this country. Of course, we know that students played a critical role in 1960 in Paris, galvanizing the world. We know the role played by students in the anti-Vietnam war demonstrations in the United States of America, bringing a powerful superpower to its knees. We have seen the role of students even in our own countries. We are currently witnessing an agitation by students in Jadavpur University for the harassment which they faced. And I would also like to draw attention to the role of a law intern who had the courage and the guts to stand up and accuse a judge of sexual harassment. And if I may say so, she succeeded. She was a path maker, and she was somebody who opened the door to many others. After that, we saw another woman accusing another judge, an intern, of sexual harassment. And finally, this is not something I'm proud of. I'm sorry to say that an additional district judge, an outstanding woman judge, was compelled to accuse a sitting High Court judge of sexual harassment at the workplace. She was compelled to resign. The good news is that she's an amazingly strong woman, again a role model. She has taken her case to the Supreme Court, and also the good news is that the Supreme Court has issued a notice against itself, the Registrar General of the Supreme Court, because the petition calls upon the court to put in place a policy for sexual harassment and a mechanism to deal with complaints against the Madhya Pradesh High Court for its failure to deal with the situation and against the sitting judge himself. The case will come up for hearing in October. We must await the outcome. I can say no more about it, except to tell you that these are exciting times that we live in. Finally, of course, I have to just say that for me, the law is a very exciting discipline and a very exciting profession. And for me, the reason is because I don't consider the law to be written in stone. Because this is the cliche that we hear, the law is written in stone. No, after all, the law is written on nothing more than a piece of paper. Of course it's the law, of course we respect the law, but the fact is that the discipline of law allows you to shape and mold the law in the direction that you want to shape it and mold it. This is the only reason why it is exciting to be a practicing lawyer. Can you imagine how boring it would be if you had to go to court every day and cite the same section or the same precedent? No. we don't follow the law, we actually make the law. And I would say that, being a practicing lawyer helps you to shape and mold your judges. I think it was Justice Krishna, if I'm not mistaken, at that very meeting that we were at. And he said, many people have said it, you have to grow up your judges, you have to educate your judges. And you as lawyers have to educate your judges. And that is the training that you receive in institutions like this. I can only tell you that I'm proud to say that after more than 45 years of active practice, I continue to remain inspired by my profession. I continue to be overawed by the sheer power of the law. No doubt, after 18 years, the power of the law can convict a chief minister, a sitting chief minister. The power of the law can deal with scams. The power of the law can deal with the 2G scam that we have seen in this country. The power of the law can also derecognize contracts that were given for coal blocks in this country, and the country can be told, get your act together, better learn how to follow and implement the rule of law. This is what is absolutely inspirational. Finally, I would say that I've been very happy to be told by my former junior and your faculty member, Juma Sen, that this university has a very favorable male-female ratio among its students. And the gender balance in this law school is definitely to be appreciated. However, I would emphasize that this gender balance, which right now is a great gender balance, should translate itself into leadership roles that we see at the highest levels of institutions. Finally, I would also like to see this gender balance reflected in our courtrooms. And so, Professor Raj, I would urge you to encourage your women students to join the bar. Academia is very important, but unless we learn to make these cross-cutting connections, academia can remain between the two covers of a book. And while speaking about the book, I'd like to tell you that I have recently authored a book of sexual harassment at the workplace. I'm going to be, of course, presenting you with a copy. But the reason I'm opening this is yes, I'd like to present, Juma, if I can have that copy, please. I would like to read, but that's not the reason I'm pointing to the book. I'm going to end by reading for you the dedication which I have written on this book. And thank you so much. Yeah. And here's how it reads. I want to read it for you. What would it be like to live in a world free from sexual harassment? What would it be like to live in a world free from discrimination based on sex? What would it be like to live in a world free from rape? What would it be like to live in a world of equality of opportunity? What would it be like to live in a world free from bias and prejudice, sexism and misogyny? This book is dedicated to the woman, and I must say now the man also, who dreams of such a world. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that inspiring speech. Now I would like to welcome Ms. Liz on stage, please, to say a few words.
Allow me to start by paying my respects to the distinguished colleagues on the podium, Mr. Vice Chancellor, to the Additional Solicitor General of India, to the Additional Chief Secretary, to the distinguished Registrar, to Professor Krishnan, and to all of you. As the head of the 28 United Nations agencies that have the privilege of serving in India, we're honored to be with you here today. On the 5th anniversary of Jindal University, allow us to salute the university's leadership, its chancellor, registrar, professors, teachers, researchers, managers, administrators, staff, and its students for your outstanding achievements and for your contributions that Jindal University is making to India's emergence as one of the world's great powers. I know that everyone here today knows this, but allow us to emphasize on your 5th birthday just how important you are. Your university is at the forefront of some of the most far-reaching developments in higher education through your 5 colleges in law, international affairs, business, government and public policy, liberal arts and humanities. You are training India's next generation of leaders in precisely the areas that matter the most in today's interconnected, globalized world. India needs the best lawyers as it becomes a great power. It needs the most skilled diplomats to negotiate with other countries. It needs the most informed policymakers, politicians, and parliamentarians to oversee and steer its government. India needs socially conscious businessmen and women to make its economy mighty and sustainable. And it needs sophisticated thinkers, writers, and artists to ensure that its great intellectual tradition continues and flourishes. Even though Jindal is only 5 years old, it is already part of the global network of top universities, connected through partnerships to 65 institutions, including some of the greatest centers of learning in the world in 25 countries. I was thrilled to see amongst your partnerships Texas A&M University, which is the university in the town where I live, where my sister-in-law is a professor and my brother has just received his PhD. Gender has adopted a cutting-edge pedagogical approach, promoting multidiscipline knowledge that spans domains and intellectual fields. This is a very smart thing to do, because as we all know, the issues that India is facing today demand expansive, integrated knowledge solutions that can only be achieved through multidisciplinary study and research. Of Jindal's great achievements, one in particular stands out: its commitment to research and innovation. During the modern period, beginning with England's Industrial Revolution and France's Great Political Revolution, every single one of the world's leading countries has benefited from the contributions of their leading universities. This was true in Britain, France, and Germany, where Oxford, Cambridge, Sciences Po, and Humboldt universities produced major scientific breakthroughs during the 19th century. It is true now in the United States, where Harvard, Stanford, and the great network of state universities produce constant innovations in all domains, driving forward progress and making things better. It's becoming true in China, Singapore, Brazil, Nigeria, and Egypt. And it's becoming true in India, where universities such as yours, such as Jindal, are developing world-class research capabilities. Doing so is a national priority. Prime Minister Modi, in an article he has written for the Wall Street Journal, has said that for India to become a world leader, it must welcome ideas, research, and innovation. Linking innovation and research to industry and public policy, and using it to ensure that everybody, including most importantly the poor, live dignified lives, is key to India's future. Recent research by the United Nations shows that countries which are committed to research and innovation are the ones which are ahead in human development. Around the world, exciting things are happening. Higher education is becoming more accessible to people who can't leave their homes and attend faraway institutions, but who learn remotely with the aid of broadband connectivity. Young people are being trained to become social entrepreneurs so that they can run businesses that produce the products and services that help people that need help the most. The countries that are on the cutting edge are those that are promoting a culture of innovation, where people feel encouraged and emboldened to take brave steps, knowing that if they succeed, society will be better for it, but that if they fail, they will be supported to try again. India has the largest population of young people in the world. It also has the smartest, most exciting, and dynamic population of young people anywhere. In 2030, 1 of every 4 graduates in the world will come from an Indian university. In just 15 years, India will be the dominant force in higher education across the globe. You should be very proud that within just 5 years, Jindal has already become a leading force in India's higher education system. In 5 more years, it is positioned to become a leading force in the network of global education. If you allow me just a final thought, the United Nations is the premier global institution in the world. We are always looking for the most talented, for the best and brightest of each generation. My email is lise.grande@un.org. I want you to keep that so that when you graduate from this university, you write to me. And hopefully, you'll work with the United Nations. Congratulations to your university, Mr. Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Ms. Grande, for your kind words. We would now like to call upon the esteemed guests, as well as Professor Rajkumar and Mr. Modi, to present the awards to the students. The awards go to Vanita Dhanna.
This is Excellency Award for the students. Saisha Bhattacharya,
Aarti Agarwal,
Asmita Hariyakar,
Shrishti Mukherjee,
Urvi Agarwal,
Pratiksha Mohanty,
Ravina Sethia,
Uday Bedi,
Mansi Chaudhary,
Nilika Ravana,
Aditya Dayal,
Janani Rani,
Shama Abbasi,
Malika Singh,
Mrinal Sharma,
Radhika Desai,
Swecha Malik,
Mahima Pandey,
Nimra Alvi,
Sneha Bharmani,
Ganesh,
Himani Joshi,
Anisha Goyal,
Shri Chaudhary,
Medhavini,
Dashrath Kurli,
Isha Saha,
Sneha Srinivasan,
P. Rashmi,
Ishita Trivedi,
Shushmita,
and Ankur Shah. The award for Best Leader Female goes to Sania Kapoor. Best Leader Male goes to Ajay Singh Raj.
Best Motor Speaker goes to Mohan,
The Best Motor Researcher goes to Nimra Alvi and Vaideni Mishra.
Intramu champions goes to Aishwarya Singh and V. Balaji.
The best debater speaker was Parveen Singh.
Best debater adjudicator goes to Madhav Rangaras.
The Inter-Varsity Debate Champions in 2014 were Samit Malari, Balala Khanna, and Deepthi Narayan.
Best sportsperson female goes to Chinmay and Avshreya Pratap Singh.
The best sportsperson male is Drone.
Best dancer goes to Srimoy Baswas and A. Satvika. Best Dance Troupe goes to Anvesha Majumdar, Niharika Malhotra, Samrita Ahuja, Jasleen Bhandari, Srimoy Bishwas, Yashvardhan Agarwal, Madhur, Dipankar Jain, Normandeep Jain, Palak Gupta, Ashrika Man and Shreya Shivasani.
The best musician is Zulhan and Flourish.
Best Student Entrepreneur of the Year goes to Avantika Chawla. For her cupcakes, guys. One for the red velvet, everybody.
The Best University Citizenship and Public Service Award goes to the Clinical Legal Aid Society.
Intra-Varsity Debate Champion 2014 goes to Vinay Bhushan, Shreyas Gupta, Ankita Sharma.
The most promising new student initiative is a Society of Multidisciplinary Studies for conducting the first JGU ELP course brief competition and Aperture, which is the Jindal Photography and Visual Arts Society.
Just 15 seconds. I want to speak just for 15 seconds.
You can't speak for
Just 15 seconds.
You're on stage, buddy.
5 seconds.
Ask why, Sarmurti. मैं क्या करूँ? ये लिखा है।
Good evening. I'm very grateful for the committee in selecting this award for us. Today I'm missing two of my friends who are the co-founders of the Poetry Foundation, that Siddharth Bhatnagar and Mukul Karachari. I'm really missing them because they are important people who helped us in this competition. I'm also grateful to all the faculty members who were involved in judging all the competition rounds. And today I'm very grateful to two most important people, that is Professor Arjun Jindal and Professor Sunil Tripathi. This competition would have not been possible without them. Thank you.
Most active society goes to JGU, Social Service Society, and JGU Debate Society.
The most accomplished society is the Jindal Sports Society.
Students Research Award goes to Amit and V. Vinay Raju. I think they graduated because it's MV 2012. That's going to come. How dumb can they be?
The award for outstanding contribution to cultural activities goes to Shrishti Gupta.
The most active club goes to the Octophy and the Kala Cultural Club.
The award for outstanding contribution to placement activities goes to Vikas Arya.
Best International Students goes to Mario.
The Inter-Varsity Debate Champions for 2013 are Kanika Mishra, Neeraj Purvis, and Gaurav Javani.
Best International Student JSGP goes to Thomas.
The Best Sportsperson Award goes to Ankush Das.
Outstanding Creative Outreach and Fieldwork goes to NC and Franklin.
The Student Research Award goes to Amit Saxena.
The Best Student Leader in the School of International Affairs goes to Yagavendra Bahadur. Professor Elizabeth Ann Griffin. Professor Upasana Mahanta. Professor Suroj Kaul. Professor Sarkar. Professor Mandavi Jayakar. Professor Vedali Schwab. Professor Vikas Kathuria. Professor Gopinath. Professor Urvashi Aneja. Professor Sudarshan.
Teaching Excellence Award.
This is for Research Excellence Award. Earlier was teaching. Professor Paddy. I took a shot away.
Professor Rohan Alva.
Professor Sarkar.
Professor Machandal.
didn't say anything.
Mr. Dipanshu Mohan. Professor James Edinburgh.
Dr. Kirti Nakre. Professor Khagesh Gautam. Now, we would like to call upon Professor Sevi on stage for our outstanding stellar role in the JNK flood relief. The Long Service Award is the award for appreciation for distinguished service to JGU and outstanding contribution to its success and growth. Mr. Ajay Tiwari. Beena Reggie. Mr. Prudhi Prakash Chauhan. Mr. Jayaram Gore. Neha Pul. Mr. Ravinder Singh Chauhan. Mr. Sanjay Jha.
Mrs. Saroj Kaul.
Mr. Shaunak Roy Chaudhary. Mr. Varun Ajavan.
Mr. Akash Kumar.
Mr. Anil Kumar.
Mr. Devendra Singh.
Miss Lalita. Mr. Maheshwar Sahani. Mr. Pawan Kumar.
Mr. Prakash Chandra.
Mr. Pramod Kumar.
Mr. Rajkumar.
Mr. Rajbir Singh.
Mr. Satpal Singh Chandel.
Mr. Shankar San Barak.
Mr. Sunil Jaya.
Mr. Sunit Pandit.
Mr. Sushil Kumar Mandal.
Mr. Omakant Barak.
Mr. Vijaypal.
Mr. Vinod Kumar.
And Mr. Virendra Kumar.
And now, the Sports Award These teams have participated in the Bangalore Spirituous Fest 2014. The champions are as follows: volleyball men, squash men, tennis women, badminton women, table tennis men, and carom women.
We would like to congratulate everyone who has won an award tonight. We will now request Professor Rajkumar to present a memento of thanks to Ms. Jesling and Ms. Brand.
Good evening, everyone. This is not the scheduled one, but all of us got awards. The person who really deserves it did not get it yet. Can you guess? Perfect. In fact, Professor Rajkumar, students, faculty, staff, everyone, we decided that to honor you with a small plaque. The wording, can I have that please? The wording is designed by the students. Now may I request Dean Sudarshan, Steve, all HODs, Paras, Arman, everyone to be here please. And Ms. Sharma and Sanya also. It says OP Jindal Global University, the 5th anniversary and celebration of the University Day, 30th September 2014, presented to Professor Dr. C. Raj Kumar, Vice Chancellor OP Jindal Global University, in recognition of your courage to remain true to your dream of establishing OP Jindal Global University. Your able leadership to ensure its realization, and our gratitude to you for the impact it has made on the lives of its students, faculty, and staff. On behalf of all students, faculty, staff, and governing body of OP Jindal Global University, Professor C. Raj Kumar.
I would request Professor Vairsan Moti to please say a word of thanks.
On behalf of the JGU community, I wish to express our profound thanks to all guests of honor, Mr. Rajan Kumar Gupta, Ms. Liz Gran, Professor Jayant Krishnan, and Ms. Indira Jaisingh for gracing the 5th anniversary celebrations and for inspiring our students through their remarks. Today is indeed a very historic occasion for JGU. On this momentous occasion, I wish to acknowledge the visionary leadership of our Chancellor, Mr. Naveen Jindal, and Vice Chancellor, Professor C. Rajkumar, and the contribution of members of the governing body, Board of Management, and Academic Council. I wish to place on record our sincere appreciation to the faculty members and in particular deans who are leading through example by their research, publications, and teaching, and their significant contribution to many other aspects of campus life. This would not have been possible but for the strong support given by spouses of our faculty members. I wish to thank all heads of departments and non-teaching staff for their solid contribution to institution development. I wish to acknowledge the presence of several parents amongst the audience today. We count on the continued support of parents in the growth and development of OP Jindal Global University. I wish to thank all JGU staff, U-Hall staff, and members of the Student Council and student volunteers for the successful conduct of this function. I compliment all award winners among students and faculty members. I hope that they will continue to earn many more laurels for themselves and make JGU proud of their achievements. For those who did not receive any award this year, I wish to remind them about their tremendous potential. I urge them to strive hard for excellence and secure an award in the years to come. On this important occasion, let us resolve to take JGU to greater heights in the years to come. I request all of you to enjoy the cultural show by the students of JGU and later on join us for dinner. Thank you.